Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Man, I've been evaluating the situation in Iraq, and it is a lot worse than we know. It truly is. It's not just a matter of Iraq getting a government formed. It's more than that. One thing that's rearing its ugly head up right now is something that everybody should be concerned about because it affects the world, especially over here in the United States. There are other things that I see that are extremely positive, things that I see that can definitely benefit the Iraqi dinar. It's really sad to see both the one side of great things happening, things that I think are major steps towards increasing the value of the Iraqi dinar. Then there's a sad part of this, and that is some really dark shadows moving in and around Iraq. I'll explain. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. If you are not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you are thinking about buying gold or silver or any other precious metals, head on over to our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. Speaking of gold, Iraq continues to add to their reserves. They now have 130.4 tons of gold. They're not the only government doing this. So there's definitely something going on worldwide, and people are preparing for it. It looks or appears that there are battle lines drawn. The United States and Britain on one side, Russia and China on the other. I mean, there are other countries there too, but you get my drift. And it really does look like a battle for the direction this entire planet's going to go into. Unfortunately, it sounds so melodramatic, but it's the truth. Anyways, Iraq's gold reserves are increasing, and so should yours. The statistics of the World Gold Council show that the reserves of the world's central banks of the yellow metal amounted to 35,393 tons by the end of July. According to those statistics, Iraq ranked third in the Arab world and 30 in the world, with reserves of 130.4 tons until the end of last July. Now, this is that positive side that I was talking about, with the gold reserves in Iraq increasing and the foreign currency reserves also increasing. This is huge for the support of the Iraqi dinar. They're a big part of what makes a currency strong. So like I said, I see some big steps being taken that do indeed help the Iraqi dinar in a big way. I mean, if they keep this up, I can see in the future if they could just get their crap together. You know, they need a stable government. They need a stable economy. They need the uprisings to stop. They need to secure their country from outside interference. And I'll get into that here in just a moment. But if they could just get stable, and that's a big task, man, as you can see. If they could just get stable and people start getting back to work and the unemployment numbers come down and the private and public sector start rebuilding, then I said this in the past, that you're going to see the Iraqi dinar go up in small increments over time, with their gold reserves increasing and their foreign currency reserves increasing at the rate that they are. If they could just get their crap together, then I still believe that the value of the Iraqi dinar is going to go up in increments, but much, much bigger increments, because you can't shock your economy once it starts doing well. Okay, so there are issues with currencies around the world. We're actually watching the death of several currencies all happening at one time. Understand that this is a planned event. This is no bullshit. It's a planned event. If you kill off all the currencies, then you force everybody into what? The one world currency, the central bank digital currency. And the plan is out there, as obvious as day. I'm watching so many attacks on so many different levels coming from this organized group. It's freaky to see. And definitely killing the currencies around the world is one of them. You got to ask yourself, why is the United States printing so much money? Because it actually kills the value of the US dollar. They can lie to you, and I do think this is part of the plan. They can lie to you and say it's this strong, and they're using the US dollar to kill the other currencies. And then they're going to remove the veil, and you're going to see the truth that the US dollar is not strong at all. And then that will be one of the last currencies to be killed before they force us into the central bank digital currency. That's the plan. It's there if you could see it. So use the US dollar to kill currencies around the world, then turn around and kill the US dollar last, force everybody into the central bank digital currency. That's why I say you can't believe these reports we see anymore. Talking about how strong the US dollar is, it's ridiculous. But if we can avoid that trap and the world goes about doing what they need to do to rid of the people of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset, and they start focusing in on nationalism, taking care of their own people first, then we could come together and unify. But one of the big steps towards strengthening their currencies over there in Iraq is definitely increasing their gold reserves as well as their foreign currency reserves. This is huge. So this little battle that's going on, it's really sad to see. So Sauder is trying to liberate Iraq, in my opinion, from the clutches of this New World Order movement. The more you start to see who the players are and who's involved, then you do see the bigger picture. So Iran, of course, is allies with Russia and China, but I'm not saying that Iran is necessarily an enemy of the Great Reset. What is that old saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, for the longest time, I used to look at this map that was laid out. It's called the New World Order map. And I know back then people used to say, oh, this is a conspiracy. This isn't going to be real. Now they're out there in the open. And the Great Reset tells people that they are indeed the New World Order. But part of that map shows that Iran is controlling most all of the Middle East. And it looks like they're trying to make that happen. So they want them to be able to have the ability to have a nuclear bomb, which is bad, because they'll have no problem with using it to wipe out Israel. And they will. And use it as a threat against other countries that dare stand up against them, making them one of the strongest nations over there in the Middle East. Now, it sounds like BS, but no, it's the truth. They want to turn that entire section over there into an Islamic state. We know for the longest time, Iran has been wanting Iraq to be an Islamic state. Now, the funny thing is you have the Popular Mobilization Group that's supposed to have been fighting ISIS back in the day. That's the word, right? And that Iran truly didn't want to support ISIS when they were there. That doesn't appear to be the truth. I mean, I know that you hear that, but they seem to be supporting them more than they are fighting them. And I'm not so sure that Iran isn't using ISIS as a way to take over Iraq. Let's get back to the politics in Iraq, and that is Sauder resolves the decision to return Sauder's bloc to the parliament and support the survival of Saleh and Al-Kadhimi. Al-Kadhimi is ready to resign. He's tired of this. So Sauder decided the decision to return the Sauder's bloc to the House of Representatives, in what he considered that the decision to return is strictly prohibited. He already said he has retired from politics. Sauder said in a statement transmitted by the minister to the news that read, some of the lovers are seeking by legal means to return the Sauder's bloc to Parliament. Before I give my opinion on this issue, I say it was the first desired result. Their withdrawal is to block all ways to come to terms with the so-called coordination framework, as I do not agree with them at all. Returning the bloc to Parliament has a possibility, even if weak, of finding this consensus. It is forbidden by us, and if it is prevented, their return will be a blockage. Politically, again, if it is said their return is only for the sake of dissolving Parliament, not for the sake of agreeing with them, I say if we go back, then the situation must be satisfactory to our Sunni and Kurdish allies, and I don't think it is. He continues to say, we are aware of the many pressures on our allies, but sacrificing in order to end the suffering of an entire people is also good and required. The people, not the current, are the ones who refuse to turn faces and remanufacture a corrupt government again. The ball is in the court of the allies, not the court of the Sauder's bloc, As for the final opinion on this issue of the Sardis block return to the House of Representatives, it is absolutely forbidden under any pretext. The corrupt rejects a government that is neither Eastern nor Western with a national majority, and we reject a consensual government categorically. The dissolution of the parliament is possible without the return of the Sardis bloc, especially with the presence of its allies in the House of Representatives and some independents who so far are on the hill. So I call on allies and independents to take a courageous stand to end the whole crisis. The situation at this time will not be current, but rather the parliament will be nationalistic, Sunni, Shiite, Kurdish, and independents, so that the president and the prime minister remain at the head of the caretaker government and so supervise early elections or with the help of others, Iraq or internationals. Hence, there is no need to resort to the current or the framework in solving the problem, for the keys are with the first to solve and the contract, not with the publicized judiciary, nor with the fearful courts, nor with the withdrawal Sardis. You can't sit back and bitch about your government, complain about this politician or that politician. You can't just sit back and complain about the current state that your government is in. He's saying to the people, stop turning to us to find solutions. The solution has always been in the hands of the Iraqi people. He's saying you have to make your voices be heard. It's not up to them. But he did say he'd return to Parliament only for the purpose of dissolving Parliament. That is it. Sadr has not always been friendly towards the United States. I've talked to people like, Pimpy, why are you supporting that guy? It's not him per se. It's his ideology behind wanting to turn over the country to the people of Iraq. To have a government mixed with people with different backgrounds, the Sunnis, the Shiites, the Kurdish, independents, controlling the government, and not having total control in the hands of very little people. I support the fact that he's a nationalist, and he's taking a nationalistic approach. This whole global take care of the world crap is impossible. They're going to tell you otherwise, but the truth is it's impossible. Nobody knows your own people but you. And what I mean by that is China is not going to be able to tell Iraq how to live because they don't know the Iraqi people. Iraq is not going to be able to tell Mexico how Mexicans should live because they're not in Mexico. The people that should take care of Mexico are Mexicans. The people that should take care of Iraq are Iraqis. The people that should take care of China is China. And stop worrying about what other people are doing. Sorry, got all soapboxy and side-railed. So here we go. Here is the dark forces that I've been concerned about. Look, let's be honest. This isn't Biden that's in charge of this government. There is, without a single doubt, this is Obama. He is controlling this administration. He has been in the White House literally more than Joe Biden has, and that's the truth. We saw him the other day revealing portraits of him and the former First Lady. Really, that's every excuse he has to be in the White House. He is. I think what he's trying to do is get people comfortable to the idea of him being there again, and then don't be surprised if we don't see some kind of, what's the best way to put this, a move to put Obama back in office. And I really do think now, with all the things I'm reading in the news, there is going to be an attempt to try to put Obama back into the White House. Anyways, ISIS stages a comeback in Iraq. The fate of Kurdistan is intertwined with the fate of the beleaguered Ukraine. Yeah, but Kurdistan's been fighting on their own for quite some time, but this article definitely sheds a light on what's going on. Will the Iraqi Kurds be a collateral victim in the war of the Ukraine? In and around Erbil, the capital of Iraq, Kurdistan, Islamic State is back. It's raising its head in Suleimania. It's retaken its position in the caves and tunnels of Kirakwash Mountain along the old Sector 6 front around Gwer on a daily basis. ISIS tests the capacity of General Barzani, a leader of the Peshmerga, the regional military forces. This is how you know this is Obama's third term, making sure that ISIS finds a way to start taking over Iraq. He did it his first 2 terms, so why should anybody be surprised about a third? I told you that in that map they have Iran controlling most all the Middle East nations. If they're indeed trying to make this map a reality, this shouldn't be surprising that ISIS is starting to get support. and no pushback. The Kurds' European and American partners don't seem to appreciate the danger. They appear to regard ISIS as a tumor that has been excised, when it is more like mercury, a poisonous liquid that vaporizes and rests in suspension, waiting for its adversaries to lower their guard so it can condense anew. That is what is unfolding in Iraqi Kurdistan. Iran is at the helm, calling up its dormant agents in the area, galvanizing the Shiite militias of the Popular Mobilization Forces, sometimes supported by the proper units of the Revolutionary Guard. It is firing missiles into the areas reachable from the plains of Nineveh. On several occasions this year, rockets have fallen on the outskirts of Erbil and its airports. Since the Gulf War and the beginning of the end of Saddam Hussein, Iraqi Kurdistan has existed under international law as a semi-autonomous Kurdistan regional government. But under pressure from Tehran, Iraq has been maneuvering for months and even years to weaken, humiliate, and ultimately strangle it. It hasn't received its share of the federal budget since 2014. And that would include then under Al-Qademi. The stipends of the 30,000 Peshmerga fighters hasn't been paid. This is how you know you have real dedicated patriots of your country, when they continue to fight for your country without receiving pay. While Iraq regularly pays the salaries, pensions, and weapons of the Shiite Popular Mobilization Forces, Baghdad has prevented the exploitation and export of Kurds' petroleum reserves based on a flawed and cynical reading of the Iraqi constitution. Without vigilance of a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers, the Kurds would long ago have been sent back to their mountain redoubts. Western leaders may believe that in the global war declared against them by a bloc of new imperialist authoritarian powers, including Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey, they can operate on only one front at a time. In this case, Erbil may have to steel itself for a repeat of last year's overnight withdrawal from Kabul. But we ought to understand that the Kurdish oil and gas are serious alternatives to Russia's supplies. The Kurdistan is now, as it was when it served as its own rampart against ISIS, a shield against Vladimir Putin's energy blackmail and the ensuing chaos. America needs a bipartisan foreign policy committed to defending the West's interests and values in both Ukraine and Kurdistan. No, you're not going to do it under Obama's third term. It's just not going to happen. In case many of you haven't figured out, Obama is a huge agent of the World Economic Forum, pushing this new world agenda. Anyways, it's really amazing to watch Iraq build up their gold reserves as well as their foreign currency assets, taking the steps necessary to have a stronger currency. But at the same time, sad to see them in such deadlock over who's going to control the country. I really do think that Iraq is the gateway into the Middle East, however way you look at it. And whoever controls Iraq really controls the Middle East. You let me know what you think. You guys, that's it for now. I'm out.